Yesterday, we brought you our top 36 rest of season running back rankings. Today, we're going to do the same exercise, except at the wide receiver position. Our top 36 rest of season wide receiver rankings to help you prep for the fantasy playoffs. Ty, just like yesterday, we are going to start in the S tier and work our way down. And what I think the people will notice is that these rankings are much more spread out than the running back rankings yesterday. In the S tier, it's Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. 6 players we have here in the S tier. Obviously, these guys are all great. They are clear-cut wide receiver ones on your fantasy football team. We're not going to waste that much breath talking about all of them. But outside of Jamar Chase and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who really seem to be in the driver's seat to be the overall wide receiver one rest of season, out of Rashee Rice, Nacua, Lamb, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, which one do you think has the best chance to also be in that same kind of grouping as Jamar Chase and JSN?
I feel like the right answer is either Rashee Rice or CeeDee Lamb. Puka had a really nice start to the season. But ever since he picked up his injury against Baltimore, missed the game against Jacksonville, went to the bye, it hasn't really been the same since he came back. It's not bad. It isn't the 15 target games that we were getting before that. My personal vote is CeeDee Lamb. I feel like Rashee Rice is right there, but the reason why I go to CeeDee Lamb is just probably because I've seen it before, but I also know what I'm getting with this Dallas offense, right? Where you have two, I almost said elite because George Pickens has been
playing really good ball recently. He's been playing really good ball.
We have said in many words and different times, this Dallas offense is very reminiscent of the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals, right? T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, you now have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I just enjoy the fact that this Dallas team is going to rely on their offense to win most games. Not to say that Kansas City won't in certain game situations and all that kind of stuff, but I've seen what Dallas has done so far this year. I'm going to continue to trust that CeeDee Lamb will be one of the more elite target getters in the league the rest of the season, especially when you're going up against teams like Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, and the Chargers in, 4 of their next 5 games. Mm-hmm. You're going to need to put up points in those games. And I think that's where CeeDee Lamb can definitely shine the brightest.
Can I give some love to Amon-Ra St. Brown? Why I actually think he's a really good dark horse.
I was going to say, he feels like the dark horse of the 4 here.
He really is. I mean, we're looking at him as the wide receiver 6 in points per game, I believe it is this year. Over his last 4 contests, he actually has reached double-digit targets. Week 6, 10, 10, 13, only 8 in week 10, but then 12 in week 11. But that only 2 receptions against the Eagles. You and I were talking before the show, right? It wasn't just Cooper to Gene Locks. Obviously, the wind had a big factor in that game as well. Just a wonky game all around. But we're looking at the easiest rest of season schedule for the Detroit Lions wide receivers. The New York Giants this week in week 12. Week 13 against the Green Bay you're not in love with, but Dallas, week 14. Rams, week 15. Pittsburgh, week 16. Minnesota, week 17. I mean, we're looking at a guy who could average 18 to 22 points per game down the stretch. Without Sam Laporta on IR as well, this offense just got that, or this passing game in particular, just got that much more consolidated to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and if you want to throw dump offs to Jahmyr Gibbs as well. So, I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he rightfully belongs in this S tier bunch. I really do think he's the dark horse here to compete with the likes of Rashee Rice and JSN rest of season.
I would agree with that. I just think what it comes down to for Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be touchdowns. Before their bye,
entirely,
we had 3 touchdowns against Chicago, we had 2 against Cleveland, and then we had games against Baltimore and Tampa Bay where we found the end zone. We've only found the end zone 1 time since the bye week. Plenty of room, like you said, with that upcoming schedule to find some touchdowns and maybe even have some multi-touchdown games. But the beauty of Amon-Ra St. Brown, and to a certain extent CeeDee Lamb, because I feel like they're the same player in this sense that like there's a safety net with their volume. You are going to get some elite volume out of these guys the rest of the way. So even if they don't score, they're definitely not going to, cost you your matchup or anything like that.
I want to keep it moving on into the A tier here, but before we get there, I got to acknowledge nearly 82%, 81.7% of you all who are watching this video right now likely aren't subscribed to our channel. So let's take a moment to quick change that. You can hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell as well, so you'll get alerted when all of our newest videos are up. It's 100% free for you, as much as Ty and I are providing our insights to help you beat your friends, as much as Cam and I did yesterday. We want to remind you of the fun and camaraderie that comes with the game of fake football, right? Yes, you can be competitive and want to beat your friends, but at the end of the day, it's meant to be fun as well. So we hope along the way we can remind you of that and bring you some joy and laughter into your lives as well. Let's move it to the A tier tie. It's Davante Adams, Nico Collins, Emeka Egbuka, George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, and Lad McConkey. Davante Adams, as long as he keeps scoring touchdowns at the clip that he is, which is an absolutely stupid rate, he's going to be towards the top of this A tier. Nico Collins in 3 games with Davis Mills, he is averaging 12 targets per game, drawing a 28% target share. I think we are comfortably seeing him ascend back into that wide receiver 1 conversation after a very slow start to the season. But Emeka Egbuka is the first player I want to do a deep dive of in this tier. Again, we're not going to be able to cover every single player that we talk about today. We're going to be doing rest of season ranking videos every single week, so we'll get a chance to talk about some risers and fallers as the season progresses. But Emeka Egbuka, Ty, he had the injury in week 6 against San Francisco. And in 4 games since then, the wide receiver 34 in half PPR formats, the wide receiver 55. He did have the wide receiver 4 finish right out of the bye, but then the wide receiver 44 this last week. Do you have any concerns about Emeka Egbuka rest of season? Currently, he sits wide receiver 9 in our consensus rankings.
I think it's a fair question to ask, right? Just for the hot start that he had at the beginning of the year, and it's all of a sudden just come to a complete stop pretty much. I think my concern for Emeka Egbuka isn't really about Emeka Egbuka. It's just the fact that this Tampa Bay offense is just all out of whack right now. It seems like they can't catch a break with injuries. And what it really comes down to, is a lack of a run game.
Yeah.
Like Emeka Egbuka,
Hey, Sean Tucker.
Lack of a run game, okay? Last
week was an anomaly. The Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, you look up the definition of anomaly in the dictionary. It's going to be Sean Tucker's
it's going to be Sean Tucker's 1 week every year where he gives you 30 plus.
Yes, every year. So every year the Merriam-Webster comes out with a new dictionary. Just fact check them on that one, would you? No, so I found this interesting though, right? Since week 7, right? Emeka, like you said, Emeka Egbuka picked up the injury in week 6 against San Francisco. So from week 7 on, he has a 43% catch rate. That is 95th of 102 wide receivers with at least 50 routes. That's not good. And especially when you look at weeks 1 through 5, he had a 66% catch rate. So I don't think it's necessarily just Emeka Egbuka is playing at 90%. He's not at 100%. Like I said, I feel like there's just there's a scheme, not a scheme problem, but like the entire offense is going through something right now. It's not just Emeka Egbuka. So I'm going to be honest. I'm expecting better days ahead for Egbuka when Bucky Irving gets back into the lineup. You get some form of consistency in the run game to kind of take the pressure off of Baker Mayfield. That helps out everyone else. So yes, it's been frustrating in recent memory with Emeka Egbuka. He's the one that I would continue to say, like, keep the faith. Things should turn around here for Tampa Bay. And especially since you're not going to see Mike Evans anytime soon. Chris Godwin is definitely, if he plays,
he's getting there. Limited practices all of last week.
But even then, like I'm not overly concerned that like he's going to start taking targets away, because I
Oh,
don't think
no,
he's
no,
going to
no.
be anything remotely close to what we were getting from him before his injury last year. So again, I would keep the faith with Emeka Egbuka. Yeah, this may seem high with recent performances, but again, things should kind of regress to the mean here for Tampa.
Yeah, yeah. And bringing up Chris Godwin is not me saying it's going to impact Emeka Egbuka in a negative way. I actually think it could potentially open up things for Emeka Egbuka more because, let's be honest, defenses aren't all that intimidated by Tez Johnson or Sterling Shepard on this team.
The MVP, they're not worried about the MVP.
They ain't worried about my boy Tiny Tez out there. I mean, hey, all respect to Tez Johnson. He's been doing a fine job filling in. He's going to be a fine player in the NFL. But when you get a guy like Chris Godwin back with his craft, that I think defenses are probably going to hold a little bit more respect for, there is a chance that potentially opens things up for Egbuka more in this passing attack. So yeah, I am good holding the faith on him as well. You have George Pickens, who we talked about, absolutely balling out, just got done torching the Raiders on Monday Night Football this last week. Jalen Waddle is it's a pretty easy case to make here. The wide receiver 1 in Miami, if they're going to be chasing points because of a bad run defense, Jalen Waddle is going to get the football. I mean, he's been steady Eddie here, it feels like, over the last stretch since Tyreek Hill has been out. Ladd McConkey is the last name I want to touch on in this tier, though, Ty, because he's been your guy recently. You've been very bullish on him in your weekly rankings, and now even in your rest of season rankings as well. So give me the bull case here on Ladd McConkey rest of season. Not that I'm like out on Ladd McConkey. I think he's been playing much better. He's been being utilized as the Chargers' true wide receiver 1 here after the inquisitive start to the season. Sus is just the better word. I tried to find a fancier word. But go ahead. Give me the bull case on Ladd McConkey here.
Well, we've seen the resurgence of Ladd McConkey, right? Ever since week 6 against Miami, we've had 3 games with at least 80 yards. We've had games with 15 targets, 10 targets. Yeah, we've had games with just 6 targets. What I come back to, though, is that this Chargers offense is going to continue throwing the ball. Now you do have the Justin Herbert kind of health question at this point, because the offensive line is trying to get Justin Herbert.
They're doing their best out there, man.
They're doing their best, and they are failing miserably.
They're really trying.
They're really trying. I just look at upcoming schedule, right? Knowing that LA is willing to throw the ball. Ladd McConkey has been on the field more than Keenan Allen, and that was the thing that we were kind of struggling with, is he was rotating with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's kind of taking that back seat now. So you're going to be throwing the ball. Your schedule the rest of the way. Vegas, Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Denver for you week 18 sickos. Points. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like points. So if the Chargers, right, as it stands right now, you are sitting at, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-4. You're making a push to the playoffs. You need to win these games. You need to put up points to do so. I think Ladd has some similar games to what we saw against Minnesota, right? 6 catches, 10 targets for 80 yards. Some games like we saw against Tennessee, right? So I'm not saying that it's like consistently going to be, like the Devontae Adams you can bank on the touchdown, the volume that Nico Collins is going to get. But I do think that Ladd McConkey has some really, really good upside week to week that can elevate your fantasy squads if you do have him on your team.
Yeah, I think he very comfortably fits in like right at the end of this tier. If you bump him down a tier,
it don't make sense.
I think he would still be at the very top of that tier. Is all I was going to say.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think you would bump him any lower than maybe the second or third player in the next tier. But like, I think you can comfortably slide in Ladd McConkey at the end of this tier, partially because we talked about it in our starts and sits video last week, that Keenan Allen, well, you brought it up, that Keenan Allen has basically just become a part-time player again for this team. And then Quentin Johnson as well. I mean, 0 catches in 2 of his last 4 games here. I mean, you do have in week 10, he did draw 10 targets as well, but even only 5 receptions for 42 yards. You're basically just banking on a touchdown for Quentin Johnson after a ridiculously hot start to the season in his first 4 games. He has since cooled off as well. So, yeah, we're back to seeing Ladd McConkey as the focal point in this Chargers passing attack here. And as long as this offense puts their best foot forward each and every week, there's a chance with Ladd McConkey that he'll continue to show out on a week-to-week basis. Let's go ahead and jump to the B tier here. Consists of T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Rome Odunze, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown. T. Higgins, I do want to ask a quick question on T. Higgins. I didn't have him scoped out in our doc as a player I wanted to talk about, but does he actually belong in the A tier here? I mean, he's been balling with Joe Flacco at quarterback, and we might be getting Joe Burrow back potentially in the next 2 weeks, which is like crazy. I don't want to speculate too much on the Burrow situation, but I mean, T. Higgins has been balling with Joe Flacco, man. I wonder if we're doing him a little bit of a disservice here.
I think there's a case that you could put him at A, but he is at the very end of A. And I think the reason why I'm comfortable having him at the top of B is because the floor is still the T. Higgins floor. Like, that hasn't changed regardless of who the quarterback is, because it is the Jamar Chase show here. But I can see where the argument is for T going up to A, because is it within the cards? Is it within the realm of possibility that T. Higgins finishes closer, finishes maybe even inside the top 10 wide receivers? Like, if I think that's a realistic outcome because of how this Bengals offense is operating right now. But again, I feel like B is the right spot just because of the peaks and values that you're going to get with T. Higgins. That's the T. Higgins experience.
Yeah, I love the name that you came up with for this tier. This is the head cases tier, right? Where it's like, what in the world are we doing here with these guys? We know they're very, very high end talents, but golly, it's not even ebbs and flows. It's like mountain peaks and like crater valleys that we're getting with these players. I will credit T. Higgins, though, with Joe Flacco at quarterback since week 6. He has been the wide receiver 6 in points per game in PPR formats. He's been averaging 18.5 points per game since week 6. I'll give credit where credit's due there, man. I'm wondering if I would actually rather slot him up into like the end of the A tier there, even like potentially ahead of a Ladd McConkey, ahead of a Jalen Waddle. I think when you get to those Devontae, Nico, Igbuka, Pickens, I think that's maybe the range he kind of belongs in. I think you can make a case for him actually being ahead of a Jalen Waddle, Ladd McConkey. I'd be curious where the people actually value T. Higgins rest of season based on, like you said, kind of the pendulum swings that we tend to get from T. Higgins, even though it has been a really good stretch for him here over the last 5 weeks.
Yes, it's been great. I don't want to take anything away from that. We have scored in 4 straight games.
Yeah.
What happens if the touchdown streak stops? Because we know that T. Higgins isn't like an elite target getter, right? And that's not to say that's not a shot at the skill of T. Higgins. That's just playing second fiddle, playing the counterpart to Jamar Chase. Like, you're just not going to get a ton of targets. So he has been making the most of his targets by scoring. But if we don't score, that's when you get the game. Like, the Jets score, or the Jets game is kind of the epitome of this to me, where it's like, you will get a game where he only has 2, 3, 4 targets. And he may not
score. Yeah.
Yep. Like, he won't find the end zone. And so then you're stuck with 4 or 5 fantasy points, in your lineup. But at the same time, he could bounce back the next week and give you the game like he had against Chicago, where he had 7 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? So because of those, again, like we've said multiple times now, the peaks and valleys, that's why he's top of B for me. I get the case for A, but that floor is what pushes me to keep him here at B.
Again, mountain peaks and crater valleys is what we're looking at here for this range of wide receivers. And unfortunately, we're kind of there with Justin Jefferson. Look, I always want to make sure I state this beforehand. As homegrown Minnesota Vikings fans, we do our best to evaluate this team within the regular scope of the NFL, not just as hometown fans. Nothing grinds my gears more listening to hometown radio, hometown podcast, and just hearing all this bias just leak out. Like, we can remove that for a second and like subjectively talk about this team, because holy cow, JJ McCarthy is absolutely horrific for Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
I'm going to be the first to tell you that I am probably still way too optimistic on Justin Jefferson rest of season. I look at the schedule and I'm just like, it has to click. One of these games, it has to click. Wide receiver 11 for me, and falling very quickly. He's already tanked for you. Wide receiver 17 in your rest of season rankings. 9 needs to fix his alter ego here, or just ditch it entirely, because it's doing nobody any good.
It's doing absolutely no one any favors. Here's a little pop quiz for you. In the 3 games with JJ McCarthy since he's returned from injury, what's the highest finish Justin Jefferson has had in half PPR?
Oh boy, half PPR, wide receiver 47.
Highest.
Wide receiver 47.
No, wide receiver 18.
Oh, okay. So sorry. I really undersold him there.
Yeah. That's why
I've got assume it's been all bad. I mean, it's felt all bad when you watch the games.
I mean, here's the thing though. That wide receiver 18 finish is just with 13 fantasy points because he scored in that.
I was going to say it was the game he scored, because he hadn't scored in freaking 7 weeks.
Yeah. So just quick math for you. That's just 22 combined fantasy points if you remove that touchdown. So he's averaging 7 points a game. So when you say that JJ McCarthy is not doing any favors, I feel like we're kind of underselling that a little bit. Like it's nothing good is happening right now. So I think the reason why I really debated putting Jefferson lower, because like it's not good right now. Like we have to remove, this is where the bias removal comes in for some people. We need to remove the fact that Justin Jefferson is one of the best wide receivers in the game, and just look at this objectively and just go, it's failing right now in Minnesota. Nothing is working. So I ended up with 17 because I was like, you know what? He's going to continue to get targets, right? Like, he's a top 10 wide receiver in usage on the year. There is no lack of targets here. They're just super inaccurate targets. So you will have the games, and especially with like offenses that we're going up against now too, Green Bay, Seattle. Seattle's a really, I shouldn't include that game, but Washington, Dallas, the Giants.
You like those?
Yeah, there are some games where you're going to need to put up points, and those are the games where Jefferson could be in line to find the end zone, and that's where he makes what could be a really gross week turn out to be a semi-decent week. But if we don't score, we're going to continue seeing a lot of these like frustrating, 5 for 61, 4 for 37 kind of games from him. So I feel I'm optimistic putting him at 17.
Until McCarthy can throw the out route with precision. The amount of times he's overthrowing Jefferson on these out routes is absolutely ludicrous. It's one of the easy go-to routes that you should be getting in rhythm with your star wide receiver and not chucking it 10 feet over his head. That's the route that's supposed to get you in rhythm with the rest of the game. And it's just not right now. I mean, JJ McCarthy literally can find no rhythm whatsoever. So this offense is constantly dysfunctional. And what stinks about this whole thing is that McCarthy will rip 4 or 5 like beautiful passes throughout the course of the game. That's like, hey, if you were to string those 4 together, that's a scoring drive. Easily. But the problem is you get one great, really good throw, and then he sails about 4 in a row. And it's just a disaster. So, yeah, I think we need to start looking, like you said, looking at the Vikings offense objectively and recognize, hey, Jefferson is a phenomenal wide receiver, still one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL, but until JJ McCarthy can actually settle down and deliver him a good ball, it's not, talent can only take you so far in fantasy football. So Jefferson will be one to watch in our rest of season rankings to see where he actually falls week in and week out as we continue to roll out the JJ McCarthy experiment. Rome Odunze, you have a few down weeks, you get a few high weeks. The Chicago Bears offense, I think, is still trying to find itself a little bit, but Rome's going to be a top 20 guy week in, week out. Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, though. How in the world do we want to start trying to figure out the head case that's the Philadelphia Eagles passing attack? Cameron and I talked about. Okay, well, Cameron and I talked about it yesterday. I would rather not too, but we're going to take our best stab at it.
We have to.
Cameron and I were talking yesterday, and in a game against the Detroit Lions, I get it. It was windier than all crap in that game. You can exploit this Lions secondary, man. I know AJ Brown got 11 targets in that game. This team wants to run the ball way too freaking much still behind an offensive line that isn't the same as last season, that cannot block to the same caliber as last year's unit. I'm not asking for Jalen Hurts to chuck the ball 35, 40 times a game. I'm just saying at some point you gotta realize this offensive line is not opening up the holes needed for Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's anything that Saquon Barkley's doing, but golly, Ty, can this team stop running the ball freaking 25 to 30 times a game? It's starting to piss me off. It's pissing me off, Robert.
It's unfortunate is the only word that I can describe here, because again, you have elite talents out wide with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. I almost started a reckless narrative of just like, maybe they don't trust Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. That's why they keep running it. That would have been maybe that's an off-season conversation. When it comes to Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, here's what I will say. You will not find a game the rest of the year. I'm confident in saying this. You will not find a game this year where both of them have a phenomenal week or a phenomenal game.
No.
And more times than not, it's not because of the off-field stuff with AJ Brown. I lean Devonta Smith. I lean that Devonta Smith is going to be the guy to have better games down the road here than AJ Brown. AJ Brown will have some decent games. Like AJ Brown is, I don't know if I can simplify it to this, but this makes the most sense in my mind. AJ Brown is the man coverage guy. Devonta Smith is the zone coverage guy.
That's all we have to go off. Not all we have to go off of, but like,
it's the best metric we can use.
It's one of the stickier trends that we have for these two.
And I mean, Dallas, Chicago, Chargers, Vegas, Washington, Buffalo, Washington. I just see like one game AJ Brown and the next Devonta Smith. And then it can maybe be another Devonta Smith and then AJ Brown game the next week. So I feel like these, the ranking that we have for Devonta Smith and AJ Brown is exactly that. That's our best way of saying that, like, they might end the year like back to back with each other. But you're going to be frustrated for the rest of the year with both of these guys, not just because of like, again, the 1 week, the one Devonta Smith week, the next AJ Brown week, but you're going to have to deal with the head case of Kevin Patullo continuing to just give Saquon Barkley the ball when that's not working as well as it probably should be. But I'm just going to say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. That's what's happening with Philly's run game right now, and nothing has changed.
I'll tell you who it's going to be against the Commanders. I already know who it's going to be. I had a vision when you were talking there. I had my "that's a Raven" moment where it zoomed in on my eyeball, and all of a sudden I saw exactly
elite reference.
I saw exactly what was going to happen in week 16 and 18 if you're a sicko in your fantasy football leagues. Let me read you AJ Brown's last 4 box scores against the Washington Commanders. 13 targets, 9 receptions, 175 yards, and 2 scores. 8 receptions on 8 targets for 130 yards and 2 scores. 5 receptions on 8 targets, 65 yards, no score. But in December last year, 8 receptions on 15 targets for 95 yards and a score. If you even want to go back to 2022, five receptions on 10 targets, 85 yards, and you know it, a score against the Washington Commanders. Probably going to be A.J. Brown in that game. Those two games, if you're sicko and you play in week 18. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it makes sense because guess what? Washington plays man at a top 10 clip. So there it is. There it is.
Lucas is a time traveler confirmed.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on two or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the highers on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all three of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up, because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show.
All right, we're through the first three tiers here, Ty. Let's keep it moving on to the C tier here. This is where we have Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Teteroa McMillan, Jameson Williams, and then you slot in an injured Drake London and injured Brian Thomas Jr. into this tier as well, though I don't really know if it actually matters if Brian Thomas Jr. is injured or not. This might be the tier he's been relegated to at this point. The true ups and downs of this tier, right? Maybe not the head cases where it's peaks of mountains and craters of valleys, but it's maybe more just like a roller coaster, right? Like truly a roller coaster ride with some of these players here. I want to start with Chris Olave because I actually think we can spend a lot of time in this tier. This is full of a lot of guys that have a lot of contingent situations going on around them as well. Chris Olave, going into the bye week in week 11, had 8 targets, 5 receptions for 104 yards in a score with Tyler Shuck as the starting quarterback in week 10. That was good for the wide receiver 6. What are the odds we actually see him jump a tier into being with the head cases here? Because you don't have Rashid Shaheed on this team anymore. He's really the only reliable weapon Tyler Shuck has at this point. So where's your level of confidence in Chris Olave? Can he actually, kind of leapfrog a tier here by season's end?
I was thinking about this earlier. I feel like there's a case to have Olave at the end of the B tier instead of discussing him here in the C tier, because I think
a handful of guys could slide in at the end of the B tier.
Yeah.
Depends how rich you want to get with, what bar does T. Higgins set for that tier?
Right. Olave could definitely be a head case because you're just like, I know that he's the guy. It's like the Garrett Wilson kind of outlook of just like,
right,
that it's just him. So something's going to happen. Like if we're so bullish on Jalen Waddle being the only guy in Miami, how are we not that bullish on Chris Olave? Like that's the thought process there with that one. The reason why.
Tell you why. Yeah.
Two words, must see TV. You seen that Charles Barkley clip? Best one. That's
Olave Shuck. Must see TV.
Must see TV. It's Tyler Shuck. That's what it comes down to. The schedule. I don't know what to make of their schedule. It's not like it's Atlanta, Miami, Tampa, Carolina, the Jets, Tennessee, Atlanta.
Nothing screams great.
Nothing screams great, especially when you're talking about the Saints offense. So I feel like C is probably the middle ground spot for him. But like you said, I think there's an argument that you can put him up into that B tier as a head case entry because it's that he's going to be a target getter in just a really bad offense.
Chris Olave is the Quinshon Judkins of these wide receiver rankings. The only thing that's holding him back is the New Orleans Saints. That's truly what it is. Because he's the lone target getter there. If Tyler Shuck were pick another quarterback in this tier, Daniel Jones, we'd be talking about him probably being in the B tier at this point. And Daniel Jones has been a perfectly fine quarterback for Michael Pittman this year. I do want to make sure we touch on him as well because he only has 3 games worse than the wide receiver 22 this year. And that includes 5 games as a top 15 wide receiver. I think the question here is, are we actually doing him dirty? Like, is this actually slightly disrespectful for Michael Pittman?
Yes and no. Like, yes, from the standpoint of like, look at what he's done so far this year. No, because I at least I am projecting a regression to the mean when it comes to touchdowns. And I'm not sure that the volume here is super sticky. Like, yeah, we have 3 games in the last 4 with 9 or more targets, which is really, really good to see because we only have 1 game with more than 9 targets before that. But regressing to the mean when it comes to touchdowns, potential dip back down, or, a regression in volume back to the mean there as well. Not to say that Michael Pittman is then no longer like a playable piece. Is this an Alec Pierce conversation here too? Like Tyler Warren, Alec Pierce, Jonathan Taylor getting the ball.
Like, I'm not emotionally ready to talk about Alec Pierce in this tier. What? I mean, I know he's not in this tier, but I was not ready for you to take that angle on this.
No, it's something to consider, though.
He's been a dog recently. He's been playing really well.
Playing really, really well. Yeah, I like this is one that I'll fence it on, of just like, yes, based on previous performances, no, because of what I have projected for him the rest of the year. But if people are gonna, if people in the comments are gonna say like, how is Pittman in the C tier? He should definitely be in the B tier. Sure, like, I'm not gonna fight you on it because I understand what the argument is.
I get why people want to be bullish on Pittman. He's another one too where I look at the touchdowns and they just got to keep coming. They just got to keep coming. And I'm not saying they can't, because this Indianapolis Colts offense is proving to be one of the top units in the NFL this year. I am not taking that away from Michael Pittman or this Colts team as a whole. I'm just saying, at some point, are we going to get a regression to the mean in that department where Michael Pittman could hardly haul in 5 touchdowns to start his career? Now, all of a sudden, they are coming in flocks and loads, and all the like positive regression is flocking all in at once. So as long as they keep coming, I think we could be talking about Michael Pittman in that B tier. But I want to see it again out of the bye week here for the Colts. I want to see them close the season out strong as well, and not just be a first half of season team. Tedero McMillan. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick. Can I just say, are we seeing Daniel Jones come back down to earth a little bit?
Well, okay, so that's the other conversation too that we could have. I didn't want to dive too deep into a Daniel Jones conversation, but I mean, there's a possibility that happens. Like that's what I mean. This offense started off so red hot at the start of the year, and I'm not saying they can't maintain that. I'm not saying they're going to absolutely crater in the back half of the season, but that's what I'm acknowledging is like this team started off really hot. Are they going to end the season just as hot as well? I think that's what will really dictate where Michael Pittman falls the rest of the season.
Right. Yeah. Like, and I'm not saying that like Daniel Jones is like, falling off the face of the earth. He's no longer startable. Like the Colts are in serious
He's
trouble.
still going to earn a fat contract.
Yeah, totally. It's just not going to be at the same clip as it was at the beginning of the year. That's what it comes down to.
Right. Again, I think how they come firing out of the bye is going to be telling where we have Michael Pittman in these rankings in future weeks. Ted McMillan, kind of the same case as Chris Olave, except slightly better quarterback? Question mark? Maybe.
Per chance.
He'll go as far as Bryce Young will take him. That's where we're at.
I hate that Cam was right about that. Because you and I were definitely way more in on Ted at the beginning of the year, and that was Cam's argument.
I'm not saying Ted can't turn into just like an alpha Drake London back half of the season. I mean, if he can go ball out against the Atlanta Falcons, who were bottom 3 in fantasy points given up to the position. AJ Terrell was only giving up 0.11 fantasy points per route run. That was the lowest mark of all cornerbacks in the NFL this year. I'm not saying it can't happen. You don't mind the schedule. It's the 49ers golly, if Bryce Young has enough time to throw against the Los Angeles Rams, maybe we can make some magic happen. You don't mind Tampa in week 16. You don't mind New Orleans in week 15. I mean, the schedule isn't, it's nothing intimidating. Like I said, if Bryce Young can survive Jared Verse, literally survive Jared Verse,
Yes.
that's not a metaphorical statement. If he literally lives through that game, there's opportunity for Ted McMillan to just be an alpha.
Opportunity. Canals, keep moving him across the formation and
Please.
get him
Oh,
lined up
gosh,
in the
please.
slot, please. That would be like perfect.
Can we emulate what Drake London is doing in Atlanta right now, where we're getting him in and out of the slot? Can we do that? Too much to ask for? Do we like Jalen Coker that much? Hasn't been showing out as we expected.
Hunter Renfrow, non-factor. Like, you got no reason to put Ted in the slot more. Just saying.
Just get him a few more easy manufactured looks out of the slot there. That would be lovely. Jameson Williams is a name I do want to make sure we cover as well. How beneficial is the Sam Laporta IR stint for Jameson Williams? I don't want that to go understated. I think that's very important for JMO.
He might be the number one beneficiary of Sam Laporta going on the IR.
I agree.
Man, I feel so vindicated with the street that JMO is on right now, and because of what we were saying during the offseason about hey, JMO could take, it's not necessarily that JMO could take the step, but that he becomes the number 2 guy ahead of Laporta. That's kind of, and now Laporta's injured, so I can't really say that that's what we're getting now. It's kind of a cop out.
No, yeah, but I get where you're going with that. I mean, it's right. Coming out of the bye, they said they're going to get him more involved, and now the chips have even fallen more in his favor of getting more involved. I mean, let me just quick. I'll let you finish, and we can quit. Let me quick read this off though. 4 receptions, 66 in a score against Minnesota. Wide receiver 14 and half PPR formats, 14.6 fantasy points, 6 for 119 against Washington in a score, 20.9 fantasy points. The wide receiver 3, 4 for 88 in 1 against Philly this last week. When Amon-Ra was struggling, 17.7. The wide receiver 6 and half PPR formats. I mean, yeah, they said they're going to get him more involved, and now the chips have literally fallen into the category of we have no excuse not to now.
Huh. My favorite stat. Since Dan Campbell took over play calling, Jameson Williams, the wide receiver, 3 in points per game. Wheels up, baby.
He's the one in this tier that I actually do think in future weeks we're going to be talking about him more in the B tier. I've been saying that. I know I said that about Olave, Pittman, and there's opportunity for them to do that. But
yep.
And if I'm saying that about everybody, what it probably means is that, hey, we're going to be looking at these 3 guys in the same tier. But seriously, if Jameson Williams continues going on this run, again, we're going to have to start looking at this from a lens of JMO has done this in 3 straight weeks coming out of the bye. Clearly, the changes they're making are impacting JMO positively. And there's going to be weeks where he is finishing ahead of A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith, where he is finishing ahead of Rome Odunze, where he is finishing ahead of Justin Jefferson, where he is finishing ahead of potentially Ladd McConkey, right? Wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 7, those are all the guys in the A tier right now. So if this Lions offense continues clicking with the schedule that they have, JMO might be a league winner down the stretch here.
Oh, that's music to my ears. Let's go.
Hey, as a guy who wasn't buying into the JMO hype at the start of the year, I'll happily turn that ship around now, because if you're going to tell me it's him and Amon-Ra in this passing attack, music to my ears. Gladly, of course. Yes. It was when we were talking about Amon-Ra is still potentially a wide receiver 1 candidate, overall candidate. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the absolute workhorse of all workhorses this year. Sam Laporta is going to have a monster bounce back season. Jameson Williams is going to, right? It's I'll put my bid in on the Lions winning the Super Bowl then if that all happens. But again, we didn't see that happen. Now the chips have fallen again in Jameson Williams' favor. I'm using that phrase over and over and over again because that's what's happening here. Now all of a sudden, yeah, if you're a Jameson Williams manager, he's a mandatory wide receiver 2 play in your lineups from here on out. Drake London, if he's fully healthy, where's he at in your rankings?
probably right about here still, not going to lie.
Interesting.
Drake London's last 7 games with Kirk Cousins
In
as
the
the
C
starter.
tier, not even in the B tier.
You ready for this?
Go for it.
Wide receiver 27, wide receiver 33, wide receiver 25, wide receiver 45, wide receiver 15, wide receiver 32, wide receiver 64. If he gets into the B tier, it's at the very end. Because that would qualify as a head case.
That's why I'm like, I feel like he's better than this entire tier.
Yes. Well, let me say this. He's my wide receiver 25. He's your wide receiver 18.
Yeah.
The reason why I've got him at 25 is because I think the injury is severe isn't the right word. Is big enough that like
it'll be longer than 1 week is what you're forecasting.
Yes. I'm forecasting about 3 games missed.
Okay.
That's
helpful.
I don't want to say like it's the worst kind of injury because all injuries are bad, but like you would rather Drake London just go on to IR. Like to have like the okay, I know he's out 4 games. Right. It's the clarity.
We got it with Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
Who you're not going to see in this video, by the way.
Because he's probably going to get shut down. Not going to lie.
Yeah, totally.
Drake London, that's just the vibe that I get is that injury is going to be a tad more serious, but not serious enough to go on IR. So when he comes back, is he going to be at 100%? I don't know. Now you're adding Kirk Cousins. It's not that I don't have any interest in Drake London, but it's more of this is the mountain peaks and the crater valleys for the C tier wide receivers.
Yeah, he's labeled week to week with a PCL sprain in the knee,
which doesn't go away.
No, my guess is going to be at least 2 games. If you wanted to go, I mean, 3.
Ricky Pearsall had a PCL sprain, did he not?
Is that what it was? I cannot confirm that. I don't want to.
I'm going to confirm that because if it was like that's. I'm not going to say that the Ricky Pearsall timeline is exactly the timeline you want to follow because we all know that something's in the water in San Francisco. We all know it. You know the conspiracy theory about what's nearby the practice facility. Okay,
whatever it is.
But like those kind of knee injuries don't just miraculously heal in 2 weeks. They take a ton of time. So there's too many question marks for me to confidently say that like, hey, Drake London, when he plays, he's going to be, he's still going to be a semi-reliable piece. I can't see that right now.
It was a PCL sprain for Ricky Pearsall back in week 4, and he proceeded to miss, oh, good golly. 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Did he play snaps in week 9? Fantasy Pros is logging a box score, but he did not play in week 10. He did not draw a target or catch a pass in week 9. So at least 6 games of zeros. I don't believe he played a snap in that game.
Because the Jacksonville game was the game that he got hurt. Yeah, even Football Guys doesn't even have him down as like he played a snap at all.
Yeah, so I was just curious because Fantasy Pros was showing a lot like a full 0 box score. I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense if he didn't play. So yeah, 6 games PCL sprain for Ricky Pearsall.
Yikes.
Yeah, you'd almost just prefer the IR stint for Drake London, which maybe makes you optimistic that he's not going to hit IR, that he could be back in 2 games. But
I'm more worried. I'm more worried if he doesn't go on IR because that tells me that he's forcing him back. Right. Yeah. That's what that tells me.
Sure. I can understand that perspective if you want to hold that. Brian Thomas Jr., I assume his injury doesn't make a difference. He's just going to kind of fall here. He's not even a head case. I don't even know if he's up and down. Does he belong in this tier?
I think he's firmly in this tier just because I'll just call them growing pains of this Jacksonville passing game. That's kind of what we're in right now. And yes, now you have an opportunity with no Travis Hunter, but Jacob Myers is in town. Parker Washington seems to be like Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. So I just think I don't want to say that this season is a wash, but I feel like it is a stretch to be like, hey, we're gonna get like top 10 Brian Thomas the rest of the way. If we
No,
do
oh
get
gosh,
it,
no.
like if we do
We
get it,
we
I'll hold
lost
my
that
hands
back
up.
in week 5.
Let's see, some of us have been on that since week 1. Kidding.
We lost that a long time ago. Let's peruse through the D tier here, Ty. It's Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Zay Flowers, Slick Rick Pearsall, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Steph Diggs has been the wide receiver 26 or better in 4 of his last 5 games. He has games with 8+ targets in his last 2 games without Kayshon Boutte. How sustainable do you see this production being rest of season for him?
I just
It was also very meh in the 3 weeks before these spike in target games for him. That's how I'll phrase it.
he played a season high in snaps this past week against Cincinnati. Played 69% of snaps.
Nice.
Nice. His season high before that was 63. That was back in week 4. So to me, Stephon Diggs is Keenan Allen in this New England offense, but
Sure.
New England has made it a priority that when Diggs gets on the field, they get him the ball. And I don't know, maybe it's not even so much the team is making it the priority. It's that Drake May just sees that Stephon Diggs is actually a really good route runner and he can get open. And so he trusts him more. So that's what I have with Stephon Diggs of just like, you're going to constantly be put in this like wide receiver 25 to 28 range for me. If you score, awesome. I'm not expecting you to score just because you are kind of a rotational player here.
Yeah, the title you came up with for this tier is meh. That's how I feel looking at all of them, right? Because Deebo Samuel, as long as Terry McLaurin is out, you're going to be playing him.
But it's Marcus Mariota.
But it's Marcus Mariota. So it's just a meh option here, right? Zay Flowers, he is the definition of this. It's not even that he puts out bad games. It's that he can't give you a spike week. The dude is sitting anywhere between the wide receiver 23 and the wide receiver 33 almost every single week. That is the definition of meh, if I've ever heard of it. Slick Rick Pearsall finally did return. We touched on him with his PCL sprain that he suffered back in week 4. Only 1 reception on 3 targets in his return, 0 yards. Do you still have optimism he outpaces Jennings rest of season?
Let's define outpacing because
Sure.
I think Ricky Pearsall could be the higher fantasy scorer between him and Juwan Jennings by year's end, but it wouldn't surprise me if Juwan Jennings has more volume than Ricky Pearsall.
Okay.
The reason why I've got Ricky still ahead is just because I see him as the downfield guy here. Yes, now you have literally I don't want to say the full, receiving core healthy now, but like with CMC, with Kittle, with Ricky, with Juwan Jennings, I feel like Ricky can own the deep parts of the field that Juwan Jennings cannot, and he's going to be battling McCaffrey and Kittle then for targets. So maybe that sounds a little contradictory to what I kind of let off with, but like that's my projections that Ricky is the big play guy here in San Francisco. And because of that, I'm willing to give him that's why I would have and project Ricky to outpace Juwan Jennings this year, the rest of the way.
Yeah, maybe internally for me, I'm just still asking the question, like, should these guys actually be closer in my rankings? I mean, Rick's my wide receiver 26 and Jennings is my wide receiver 34. Should that actually be like the wide receiver 29 and the wide receiver 32? I mean, like, that's the question I'm asking in this. It's not, again, it's not like I'm expecting one to smash the other outright, but the gap in my rankings, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit too far and they should probably potentially both be in the E tier or both be at the end of the D tier. I don't want to speculate too much into it, but that's all I'm sitting with Ricky Pearsall. I don't outright disagree with anything that you said. Cortland Sutton, really what you're going to have to do is just keep tracking Troy Franklin's usage in this offense. 4 for 84 last week for Troy Franklin. Cortland Sutton also with 4 receptions, but only 59 yards. Then an out of nowhere game for Pat Bryant.
Hello.
Hey, shout out Pat Bryant.
Let's
My best ball bags were happy for one game. I don't know what to make of Bo Nix in this Denver passing attack, man. It's meh. It is.
It is.
And like Bo Nix is just meh. Literally, that's the one word you can just keep using for this entire tier. DK Metcalf, the question you're asking is, does he get a red zone target? Are the Steelers in the red zone? Is Aaron Rodgers back? Or is he going to take a short pass and haul it for 40 yards off a screen? If the answer is no to all those things, DK Metcalf isn't worth playing in your lineups.
Move on. I couldn't have said it any better.
Marvin Harrison Jr., fully healthy. Where does he leap a tier here if he's fully healthy?
Marv is an interesting one because
appendicitis, by the way.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
What an unfortunate time to just have your stomach open like a cabinet to have an appendectomy. Is that what they call it? I don't know. My wife would know this. Should I call her in?
I was gonna say go grab Maddie and bring her in.
She would know what this is. I don't want to burn time up calling her in though. I don't think she would actually want to. She would only want to make a podcast appearance if we're talking about wine or Dancing with the Stars. Those are the only two things she would want to join for. Not to confirm if the removal of your appendix is an appendectomy. I'm about 90% sure that it is. Where's Trevor? Trevor, loyal listener of the show.
Yes.
I believe he's in med school. He would know this. He can confirm or deny in the comments. Shout out Trevor. Anyway, I don't know how we got on this tangent, but it seems like Marv will only be out this week. They say potentially beyond. I find it hard to believe he's going to be out more than 1 week. I don't know what the recovery timeline is for appendicitis. My roommate had it in college, but
it stinks.
He was not a NFL athlete or anything.
Yeah. This is an interesting one because you see Jacoby Brissett throw for 400 yards, and you're like, well, why can't
what
Marv
the heck is up with that?
Right.
224 was way too long. I love that call, but yeah, what in the world is going on there?
I mean, Arizona can't really run the ball, so they have no other option but to let Jacoby Brissett just sling it around the yard, which maybe gives you some optimism that, like, hey, Trey McBride will get his and Marv can maybe get some. I'm just going to be completely honest here. You're going to continue getting the frustrations with Marv because this team refuses to get him out of that sacrificial X role. It's frustrating. They've tried here and there, but we need like Drake London type, like get you out off of the outside in the slot type stuff. I'm just worried you're going to get the same old Marv experience, even though it's a different quarterback that's actually throwing the ball around the yard. It's just not going to go to Marv.
Yeah, I want to see I need to just see a larger sample with this. That's all it really is. So my hope is that Marv can come back in week 13 and we can start to see this and actually create more of a concrete stance on where we see Marv rest of season. But can't confirm. An appendectomy is the surgical removal of your appendix.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it.
I did laugh, though. I looked up to confirm that it was appendicitis for Marv because I panicked for a second. First video that pops up. Doctor explains Marvin Harrison Jr. emergency surgery. I feel like appendicitis is one of the more like common problems you hear people have surgeries for. Wow. Like that's one I feel like is common enough.
Common enough, but like, man, you gotta.
Do you need a fantasy doc explaining to you?
Yeah, probably not. That's probably not what we're looking for. We're probably looking for some,
take it out.
Some like high ankle sprains, some like
mechanisms of that. Right.
Yeah, we don't need the appendicitis deets. We don't need those.
I feel like we could be using our energy resources in a better way than explaining appendicitis in professional athletes. Anyways, E tier, we'll close it out. Jordan Addison, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jawan Jennings, Romeo Dobbs. Alec Pierce, Khalil Shakir, and Xavier Worthy. What we'll do to close it out here, Ty, pick one player out of this E tier that you think could finish in the D tier or higher come season's end.
2 for 1. The head says
Oh, shout
Dobbs.
out Twofer.
The head says Romeo Dobbs, but the vibes,
Christian Watson.
oh no.
Oh, I thought
Wandale.
that's where you were going. Yeah, Wandale. Yep.
That's where the vibes are going. If we want a Galaxy brain it, then we bring in Christian Watson.
Sure.
Yeah. But again, I say Romeo Dobbs, no Tucker Kraft. Romeo Dobbs is going to probably lead this team in targets the rest of the way. And I say probably. I'm willing to almost like guarantee that it's going to be Romeo Dobbs to lead the way in targets. But vibes is Wandale because
Yep.
you're going to get Jackson Dart back. And you're going to need to throw the ball if you're the Giants. And that's what Wandale has been. He's been kind of the PPR merchant, the PPR scam. And I'm going to ride that as long as I can, but just fully understanding that like your upside with Wandale is like wide receiver 23 on a week.
Yeah. The one thing with Wandale is I just don't know what kind of a ceiling we're gonna get. The volume's there, right? But even on his game with 9 receptions on 11 targets for 46 yards against San Francisco, that's only got you 9.1 fantasy points in the wide receiver 32 on a given week. So I'm with you. Could it be Wandale? I think so. My gut also says potentially Jawan Jennings with Brock Purdy back now with this 49ers team starting to get fully healthy on offense. I will give a shout out to Alec Pierce, who
our cardio king,
who is finally starting to get some valuable playing time and some valuable targets thrown his way.
Well, he's always had the playing time. it's well, just okay. Now.
Can I read you his last 4 box scores though? It's my answer might be Alec Pierce. Again, this is very contingent on how hot the Colts come out of the bye. Very contingent on how hot the Colts come out of the bye. Week 7, 5 receptions on 10 targets for 98 yards, 12.3 fantasy points, wide receiver 22. 2 for 5 against Tennessee, 69 yards, very nice 69 yards, wide receiver 39. 6 on 13 targets for 115, the wide receiver 15 against Pittsburgh. Against Atlanta, 4 for 84 and 1, 16.4, the wide receiver 14 on a given week. If they're going to continue stretching the field with him, if Daniel Jones is going to keep finding him, if this Colts offense is going to continue clicking coming out of the bye, we might not have a choice but to say, hey, Alec Pierce, come on down. Kind of like a Jameson Williams, right? Where we're looking at him in the C tier and it's like, could we just be putting JMO at the top of the B tier, end of the A tier come season's end with the schedule and the production that he's just putting out there? Yeah, we could get there with Alec Pierce where it's like, yeah, are we looking at him ahead of Zay Flowers and Deebo Samuel with Marcus Mariota? We might be. Stephon Diggs. If, again, I'm just saying, if we're asking about a player who could jump up a tier or more, I think Alec Pierce has a better shot than people might want to give him credit for.
I can't really disagree with it. I feel like it's a pretty clear 3, right? It's Wandale, it's Romeo, Pierce, and like Jawan is then the next in line. But I feel like it's those 3, and that's it's not a prediction. That's a what's the line? It's not a. Sorry, I'm doing Paul Heyman a disservice trying to use one of his lines. It's late. We need to wrap this up.
Gosh, it is 10:45 already. What in the world are we
it's past my bedtime.
It really is. Alec Pierce is averaging 20.9. That's his average depth of targets since week 7. Week 7 to 10. I think seriously, if they keep connecting with him on these deep balls, I mean, it's stupid stuff that Alec Pierce just could put out there, just make you want to vomit a little bit. So, anyways, at any rate, we'll put a pin in it there. We need to wrap this sucker out. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that. Hit that notification bell as well. We go live every Sunday morning before kickoff. So if you want a second opinion on whether you should be playing Alec Pierce in your lineup on a given week, that is the place you can come ask us. whether you should be playing Alec Pierce or not, given your other options on your team. Follow our other socials as well. FFL is over on Twitter. The FFL is over on Instagram. Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. If you are a YouTube person through and through, shout out to you. We respect you too. Fantasy Football Fellas Shorts, if you want to get access to our exclusive content over there, not just cut up podcast clips, but truly exclusive content that we create separate from the podcast for you all. Follow our personal socials as well if you want to be kind enough to do that. I am at Lucas Wenzel on X. Ty Law at call. Oh, it's late, Ty.
Wow.
Whoa, brother. Oh, Ty Law.
Tyler _ Plath.
Yeah, holy schmoly.
Oh man.
I have that clip from Ed and Eddie stuck in my head. You're a sneaky little bunny. Holy schmoly.
We need to wrap this up. The filter is going away really quick.
Filters. I'm surprised it stayed on for a majority of the episode.
It was hanging by a thread. That's for sure.
It was hanging by a thread. We'll be back tomorrow with starts and sits ahead of week 12. We'll see you all then. Deuces.